What is up, addicts? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are going to be discussing the fantasy outlook of Jonathan Taylor, newly acquired running back for the Indianapolis Colts heading into the 2020 season. Lots to be said about what we expect from him. Going into a team that wants to establish the run, that's been the goal of Frank Reich, and trading up to draft Jonathan Taylor in the second round is definitely going to propel that a little bit more. Now he is dealing with Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines still on the roster, so it's not going to be a bell cow workload immediately. But we'll get into a little bit of what our expectations are as the season goes on. So obviously we don't have any NFL stats, rookie coming in here, but his junior year in Wisconsin, third year in a row with over 2,000 yards from scrimmage, finishes the season with 320 carries, 2,003 rushing yards, and 26 receptions for 252 receiving yards, and a whopping total of 26 total touchdowns. Now, a lot of people seem to neglect this season when they talk about his inability to operate in the passing game. Jonathan Taylor was actually very good as a receiver. Not to the level of DeAndre Swift or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I will grant you that. But when he was called upon in the receiving game, he did his part and he did what he was supposed to do. And honestly, he looked even better than Melvin Gordon did at Wisconsin. Melvin Gordon has turned into a really good pass catching back. So if you're trying to use the fact that Jonathan Taylor won't catch passes as an argument for not drafting him, I think you're misguided, personally. When we look at some very important stats to remember in considering Jonathan Taylor, and a lot of this has more dynasty implications than it does in year one, but just some things to consider. The guy is over 220 pounds and he ran a 4.39 40-yard dash. That's 98th percentile. His speed score 121.7. That's 99th percentile. These are the types of metrics that we haven't seen since Saquon Barkley, and clearly ahead of everyone else in this class by a decent margin in just terms of athletic upside. His college target share in his third season was actually 10.3%. The Badgers didn't throw the ball a tremendous amount. So that put him in the 76th percentile. So again, please knock off the nonsense of Jonathan Taylor can't catch or isn't involved in the passing game. If he's not involved in the passing game, it's because the Colts choose to not put him there, not because he can't do it. And that is a definite concern because we know Marlon Mack was also involved in the passing game, and they haven't used him as such there in Indianapolis. The expectation, though, with Jonathan Taylor is if he performs so well on the ground that they can't justify taking him off the field, that's what you want to start seeing. He also finished with a 41.8% college dominator rating, which is 93rd percentile. As we mentioned, 3 straight seasons finishing with above 2,000 yards from scrimmage. Just absolute beast for Wisconsin, and really has some of the best measurables that we've seen in a while. Now, looking at what Marlon Mack was able to do with this great run blocking offensive line headed up by Quenton Nelson, Marlon Mack was able to create the 10th most yards at 461 in the 14 games that he played last year. Marlon Mack also faced an average defenders in the box of 6.7, which I actually found a little bit surprising when you consider how run heavy this team was last year and that Jacoby Brissett wasn't exactly the most imposing threat in the NFL. But if Philip Rivers is able to increase the efficiency of this passing game, that'll open up even more lane for this running game. And Marlon Mack last year in 14 games saw the 9th most carries at 247. My contention is, for one, they traded up to grab Jonathan Taylor. Yes, they didn't take him as their first pick in the second round. They did grab Michael Pittman because, as Frank Wright said, he feels that he was the best receiver. And he's a smart coach, and the Colts are a smart organization. They value wide receivers above running backs because that's what you should do in the NFL these days, because wide receivers are more valuable than running backs. But they had a very high opinion of Jonathan Taylor throughout the draft. They gave Frank Wright the go-ahead to make the trade, go up and grab Jonathan Taylor in the second round, 9 picks after Michael Pittman. He goes as the 3rd overall running back drafted, but goes to almost as good of a situation as Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Maybe not in the first year, but Marlon Mack has been efficient but not great over the course of his career in Indianapolis. Jonathan Taylor is an absolute beast, and if he is given any leg room to begin to assert his dominance. This is the same story that we see over and over again with rookies. Start the season out as an even timeshare and slowly just creeps his way in and eventually barges that door open, grabs a hold on the workload there, and then never gives it back. So the way that this is looking, unfortunately, the ADP of Jonathan Taylor is continuing to creep up. Right now, he's going about the fourth round, but I've seen him come up as high as the third and even sometimes the second round. I don't anticipate him performing at the same level in September as I do in October and beyond. So you want to win those first couple weeks in a season-long league, and unfortunately, Jonathan Taylor is probably not going to be helping you too much if you're having to take him in the second round, because those first couple weeks should probably be a pretty decent split between Marlon Mack, Nyheim Hines, and Jonathan Taylor. But as Jonathan Taylor continues to show this team what he can do, as he gets more comfortable with the play calling, gets more comfortable with that offensive line, there is literally almost no cap to the upside that he could have on this team. Philip Rivers loves to check it down. Philip Rivers loves to play to receivers in the screen game, and we know Jonathan Taylor can do that. Even if it's not by design, this is a completely different offense than we've seen with Andrew Luck or Jacoby Brissett. So things are going to change by nature of the quarterback play from Philip Rivers. Jonathan Taylor is a much better inside runner than Marlon Mack, and if he's able to carry the success that he had in college over to the NFL, there's going to be very little reason to continue to put Marlon Mack on the field and give him a significant amount of carries. They may even move Marlon Mack over to more of a satellite role, or they might even just trade Marlon Mack a couple weeks into the season. Once a team has their lead running back go down, you could see Marlon Mack being traded to a team like the Seattle Seahawks, or if Todd Gurley ends up getting hurt, the Falcons would be in need of a running back pretty badly, just considering their current depth chart. So there's a story to be told for why Marlon Mack could have even be traded midway through the season, and then it's complete wheels up for Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan Taylor is a very interesting strategy piece. If he falls to the fourth round, I am taking him every single time. If you have to spend up to a second or a third round pick for him, then I'm going to make the suggestion based on your league. If you're in a league that trades, Jonathan Taylor is going to be the ultimate trade target after coming out and not really having any massive blow up games for the first couple of weeks. He is going to be someone that we're going to be slamming the buy button on, heading into week 2, week 3, week 4, trying to acquire him at a discount. Because people are expecting him to come out and run 250 yards in his first game. Probably not going to happen. Probably not even going to get 100 yards in his first game. It might happen. He might just be that good. But even Ezekiel Elliott took a few weeks to really come into his own, and he was given the workload right away. So we don't expect them to give the complete reins to this backfield immediately. So it's probably going to take a few weeks. But once he gets the keys to this offense, it's going to be insane. And you want him on your fantasy team when that happens. So right now we have, I feel, probably a bit bold projections here in terms of his total carry count, but we are expecting by week 4, week 5, he has completely taken over and is now seeing about a 70% carry load and is still receiving a couple targets each week. That would put him at 1,137 rushing yards, 23 receptions for 178 receiving yards, and 12 total touchdowns. That would give him about 228.7 fantasy points. But considering that we're expecting most of these points to come over the course of 11 to 12 games, that is a much higher average points per game towards the back half of the season and would make him a running back 1. So in terms of upside, if he takes over the reins a lot earlier, Marlon Mack goes down to injury, or he just is so good they can't take him off the field, I mean, we could be talking about a running back that is as valuable as Ezekiel Elliott that you can get in the third or fourth round. That is his upside. We're not projecting that because that would be a little bit absurd, but it's definitely within the range of outcomes. Bottom line, no matter what happens this year, there's a very, very good chance that Jonathan Taylor is going to be a name that is mentioned a lot when it comes to championship teams. Doesn't necessarily mean that you draft him, because if you have to take a guy that isn't projected to get the bulk of carries for September in the second round, that's probably not going to be a strategy that we're going to endorse. But if you play in a league that you're able to trade, taking a guy that will help you immediately and then being able to flip him plus for Jonathan Taylor and capitalize right before he breaks out, that will end up being a very solid strategy that I would definitely get behind. And of course, there's plenty of things that can change between now and then. So we'll keep you guys updated on our plan for that strategy. But that is currently where I'm sitting right now as we sit here in the early parts of June. That is my plan. If his ADP drops to the 4th or 5th round, I am going to jump all over that. But if it jumps up to the 3rd and 2nd and stays there, probably going to try to find a way to finagle him onto our team after a couple weeks of Marlon Mack getting far too many carries and slowly seeding the work. But before the work completely seeds over, that's when you jump. That's when you trade for him. So that is my plan thus far for 2020. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and check out our website, fantasyaddictionnetwork.com, for a full list of where we have all these guys ranked, and we'll see you guys in the next video.